Are you planning on racing 70.3 Boulder in Colorado this year? Well, if so, sit down because we've got the video for you. Because in it, we're two experienced coaches are going to walk you through all you need to know about the swim, the bike, and the run. And we'll give you lots of little nice training hints and tips as you go along to absolutely make you bulletproof on the day. But how are we going to do that? And who are we? Well, my name is Coach Steve or Steven Moody from Dublin, Ireland. I'm an Ironman U certified coach, but I'm also a YouTuber. I was going to say influencer, but I think it's a bit wishy-washy. I'm a YouTuber that does race reviews of 70.3s and aren't full distance races around the world. This week we're in America. But how do I do this? What I do is I reach out to my network of cool and really informed and experienced coaches and the people who've done this race, and I ask all the questions you want to ask. Is it wetsuit legal? What's the bike? Should I use a time trial bike? What's on the run course? These are the questions I will ask for you, and you'll get all the information you need. And to do today's, and again, delighted to have Coach Wendy back again, who is one of my favorite coaches to interview, an Kona age group champion, and a local resident of the Boulder area. Wendy, can you give us a little bit of an intro to yourself and why you love this course and how you can help everyone get up to speed?
Hey, Steve, thanks for inviting me back for this Boulder 70.3. Well, maybe it's called 70.3 Boulder now, but this race is near and dear to my heart because I used to live in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I've done it used to be called the 5430 Sports Half Ironman, and it was actually part of a series back in the early 2000s, maybe as late as the 1990s. There used to actually be an iron distance before Ironman took over race. And I used to go to this race. I used to do the sprint, the Olympic, and the half, and I used to win the series. And so it was really cool. And then over the course of the years, me living in Colorado, I moved in 2016. The courses have changed. It's always been a fast course, but the courses have changed slightly. I've gone back since moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and I've coached athletes who still do the race. I'm still coaching athletes right now who participate in the 70.3 Boulder. And it's just a course I love because it's in Boulder.
Fantastic. And it does sound like a great location. Now you've talked glowingly about it. So let's dive straight in, if we excuse my terrible pun, which I use on most of my videos, into the swim course. So, where are we swimming and what can our athletes expect, Wendy?
It's swim. I say the beautiful Boulder Reservoir. I used to think it was beautiful when I moved to Colorado in 1995. Not so much anymore. It's kind of dirty and grungy, but it is safe to swim in. They do water testing and it is safe to swim in. I call it a flat swim course. I have never done the Boulder 70.3 or the Ironman course where it's been any waves or any chop. So it's a nice, again, I would say beginner friendly type course because there's not a lot of chop in the water. And the only issue you may face is the sunrise, beautiful sunrise over the Boulder Reservoir. But depending on when you're entering the swim portion, you could have sun in your eyes. So really you need to learn how to sight and learn how to sight the buoys so you can avoid the sun.
Would you recommend tinted goggles then for the sun being an issue?
Definitely tinted goggles. It's always a good idea to bring both clear and tinted, but for the most part, generally for the times I've done this race, it's always sun glare for sure. And you just want to be aware of the buoy placement. There was one year that I actually cut the course because I was following the buoy that was diagonal. I wasn't following this buoy. I went that way because the sun, and then I had to like reroute myself to make sure I didn't cut the course.
Cool. I know. I mean, we know you're an honest racer too. And in terms of the normally wetsuit legal, as in, or what's the
Well,
experience like?
wetsuit legal. Wetsuit legal. There did change this date at one point in time, to later in the fall, but they brought it back to, you know, early summer. It's chilly. Boulder Reservoir is pretty chilly. It's usually low to mid 60 degrees. Always check the snowfall because they'll get the snowfall. So if they have a warm spring, then a lot of the snow melt could keep the Boulder Reservoir colder just due to the snow melt. If they have a cold spring, then the snow quite hasn't melted yet. So it could go either way, but it will be wetsuit legal.
Fantastic. And do they typically give you a chance to get into the water to acclimatize? And if not, what's your tips for someone who's going to hop into cold water?
So the day before or the 2 days before the race, they'll have what's called a Boulder Stroke and Stride. So I recommend that you get there early. Who wouldn't want to get to Boulder early? And if they've never been to Boulder, there's a lot to do. But you do what's called a Stroke and Stride. So you're allowed to test out the water. I believe it's the Wednesday or the Thursday before the race. They'll actually do a 750 or a 1500-meter swim. You get to choose, and then they'll do a 5K run on the course. So that's a great way to get a feel of the water temperature and the heat and just doing a little transition workout. And then race morning, there's actually a beach area, a roped off beach area with lifeguards that you'll be able to get plenty of time to get in the water and in that safe beach area.
Fantastic. Now that's a great tip as well, because you don't want to be running into the water. And well, we'll talk about how the entry starts, and just getting that cold water hitting you in the race with all your race day nerves and all the rest. It's great. Get into the water, let the water in the front of the wetsuit, splash it on your face, get your hands used to the feet cold and all the rest. So when you get into the water, it actually almost feels a little bit warmer than you're standing outside. Um, Okay, so it looks a simple horseshoe shape out and back. Any other tips as well for our before we talk about the swim start and how it works?
No, I mean it's pretty straightforward. Again, the only that's the sun might be in your eyes. I don't know if they really do have yellow buoys because of the sun issue. So Ironman nowadays puts a buoy out every 100 meters or 100 yards. And so there's quite a bit of buoys, and I usually just swim from buoy to buoy. It's a good way to do it. And just really practice your sighting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then actually I don't know if they do it in the States. There's some of the European races actually have the number written on the buoy. So actually, you're looking at me.
Oh.
You never really know where you are, but you look to if you're sighting to the left or whatever, you go like, oh, 600 meters. Cool. That's dead handy. Uh,
They might, but I just never paid attention to that.
well, that's because you're swimming too fast, Wendy.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of time to look at it. I go like, oh, I'm still at 600 meters. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the swim start. I think we do have a rolling swim start, or seated, or my favorite new one is pulse. That's the way the Canadians say it. But just a quick thing before we talk about that. It's 1 hour and 10 minutes from you cross the mat and into the water. It looks like it's an easy walk from transition. And we'll talk a little bit of this. Now, typically, this is my part of the video where where I tap in because it's quite generic, but just I'll do a little bit. But Wendy's got a bit more insight on it because it's particularly seated swim start. But the background to what a seated swim start is, it's Ironman's way of moving away from the mass starts. And if you Google Ironman Nice or Ironman Lanzarote, you'll see thousands of people all bailing into the water at the same time, and it looks magnificent, but frightens the bejesus out of our newbies, and that's why it used to frighten away people signing up for Ironman race. So Ironman, being the clever folk, they said let's make it much more controlled and easy for newbies to get in. And what they do is then you will turn up on the start, and you'll have corrals or pens where they're designated with a time, and it'd be a big yellow sign under 30 minutes, 30 35 minutes, etc., etc. And that's where you put yourself where you expect to finish your swim time. And then this is what typically happens at an Ironman event, a little bit different, which I'll let Wendy take over then at this point. They will line you up, and the faster swimmers will go in first. So these guys are the fast guys. And you can see the volunteers holding out their hands. Beep will go off every kind of 5 seconds or so in a normal Ironman race. They'll lift their arms up, and these guys are off and running. Now, when you're standing here, make sure you say thank you to the volunteers. These guys are standing, getting the feet wet, and the morning of the race day just to allow you race. Always be polite. Um, so it's slightly different you were saying to me before we started recording, Wendy. Do you want to explain how it works?
Yeah. At least the last time I raced there, which I believe was 2017, maybe 2018, where it's a rolling start, but it's one, maybe two people at a time. So, there'll be people holding up signs to get in. If you're going to be a 30-minute or faster swimmer, you're lining up here, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, 40 to 45, etc. So most people are pretty honest, and they know their predicted time of 1.2 miles, and they'll line themselves up accordingly. And it is a very gentle. One person goes, you just kind of walk in and you go, one or maybe two at a time. And you're going to be all kind of lining up on the beach area, all kind of piled in the beachy, sandy beachy area. And it's very calming. It's not chaotic at all. Again, I've been doing this for 32 years. Back in the day, it was always a mass start. And I just wouldn't, I'd always start front and center, and I just wouldn't let myself look back to see all these people that potentially could swim over me. So it's definitely a pretty gentle start.
Do you miss the mass swim starts? I had this conversation with a couple of coaches, and like in one way I do, and I'm not the strongest swimmer, so I'm in the middle of that melee. But I know you're a fast swimmer, so you'll get out quick.
You
But do you miss?
know, I do because that is really how I started triathlon. I mean, that was one thing about triathlon that I liked as a swimmer is I had that advantage. And I had that advantage as a strong swimmer to not get fears or anxiety with a swim start, a mass swim start. And so I felt like I always had that extra edge when it was a mass swim start. And so I do miss that. I think, again, I've been doing this for 32 years. Ironman is getting very light on light. I don't even know if light's the right word, but generous, where really, as of recent, the past couple few years, they are putting on new events that have a downstream swim.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Mhm.
they seem to be making the swim portion easier and easier by going from a mass swim start to a rolling swim or
Yeah,
swim start to wave swim start, now rolling swim start. Even in Kona is now was a rolling. The last time I did Kona, it was a wave start. It wasn't rolling, it was waves. It wasn't
yeah,
mass. And then now they're doing downstream swims.
yeah.
I
You
can,
got yeah, you got like the Chattanoogas and the Californias where like people are finishing with like 130, 120 swimmers are coming out with like 50-minute swim splits in a circle, and you're seeing it. But no, yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
I
so
think
there's a less advantage for me as a strong swimmer when the swims are getting easier because a downstream swim helps me less than it helps a weaker swimmer more than it would help a stronger swimmer. So
yeah, I
yeah,
know,
it's just
I knew.
different.
And by the way, I actually do, even though I'm not the strongest swimmer in the world, I do miss it as well because my background is rugby, so I'm quite used to a bit of physical contact. And I remember like sort of going, okay, we have a bit of fisticuffs here for kind of like around 100 meters. And if someone wants to have a push at me, they're getting a good old push back. And I used to. It also would get my sort of my adrenaline up and I'm going, right, right, right. This is my water. If anyone's going to fight me for it, I'm going to fight back. And like it was part of the game for me. But yeah, yeah, okay, but don't. Sorry,
And
we're
I and I
reminiscing
could
there.
I could catch a better draft when it was a mass swim start.
Yeah, no, agreed, agreed. And for those who are getting nervous, myself and Wendy reminiscing, this is all much more calm and much more civilized. It's still a very honest swim in this. It's not in the reservoir. So seed yourself correctly. It means you won't get in the way of the strongest swimmers. It also means you will get to swim and draft beside people of your own ability. So talk in the pen. What time do you expect to do? I'm last 70.3. I did 38 minutes. And you're going, I'd love 38 minutes. I'm a kind of a 39, 40 minute. Find that person's wetsuit and stick on their feet. Um,
Yep.
get the draft and all that. And that's why I never wear a very brightly colored swimsuit, wetsuit, because I always feel you're giving people, it can be identified too easily. Okay, we have chatted. That's the rolling, the seated, or I love Canadian words, pulse swim start. We are now onto, we're coming out of the water and we're into transition. Single transition, that's correct.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's for newbies. That means that you're where you will change from swim to bike, and when you change from bike to run, same place. Some races have them in different places. A little bit of logistics. Um, Traditional transition, so no need to worry about blue or red bags. Another thing you don't need to worry about. But Wendy, okay, what's your top tips for someone who's doing their first ever 70.3? What do they need to do the day before, or how do they set themselves up? Give us all your
Well,
wisdom.
you will check your bike in the day before, and you got to know your ins and outs. So it's always good, after you rack your bike, you kind of check out where you're going to be coming in from the swim into the transition to go to your bike, and then where you're going to exit your bike to go out for the run, as well as where you're going to enter with your bike. Oh, what did I just say? I think I said it right. Maybe I said it wrong. You just want to know your ins and outs. Swim to
Correct.
bike, bike exit to the run. And bike entrance. I forgot the bike entrance.
Yeah.
The bike entrance is not going to be where you exited. There's a mount line, so you have to get to the mount line before you can get on your bike. Some people like to run with if you have cycling shoes, you could run with your cycling shoes on, depending on the distance from where your bike is to the mountain line. Sometimes I will carry my shoes and run out with my bike. And then as I go over the mountain line, I'll move off to the side, put my shoes on, and then I'll mount my bike.
Yeah, and a little tip for you there as well, guys. A lot of people you see the mountain line is, and you have to get your full bike over before you can actually get on the bike, and it's a penalty if you do it otherwise. But a lot of people they just literally go over it and get the wheel over it and they stop, and then and then they try to get over it. But everyone's trying to do that, so I always say run a couple of yards further, get yourself some space because if your bike moves, you're not going to bang someone else's wheel, or someone's not going to hit you with their leg. So give yourself some space. And Wendy's 100% right. Make sure you walk the course in terms of the night before, when you check in your bike and you set up your transition. And make sure you know this is where we exit the swim. This is where I'll need to run, and your bike will be racked. This is where my bike is racked, and get a nice big landmark. You'll be able to see it and recognize it. And then also remember, as when you correctly pointed in, when you're coming back in from you're into T2, or you have to get off before the dismount line, and then you're coming from a different angle, so it looks different. So make sure you walk that, and then know where the run exits are. Um, okay. In terms of setting yourself up for a transition, though, for a traditional transition where you have everything by your bike, what's your tips as well for the first timer, coach?
Bring a little towel. Sometimes you'll get a towel at check-in, like that's one of your little swag in your swag bag is a little transition towel. It should be big enough to fit your running shoes, cycling shoes, socks, visor, helmet. If you're gonna I usually have my helmet on my bike aero bars, but just take up as little space as possible. You don't want to piss anyone off if you're taking up too much space and then they kind of may be mean and throw all your stuff aside because they want their space as well. So just have the essentials of in transition.
Yeah, compact and think about what you're going to be doing. Sort of, you have to put your helmet on first before you can touch your bike. So I'm with Wendy as well. I have my helmet on my aero bars, and so it's steady enough that it's not getting knocked off. And the first thing, therefore, even I can't not think about it. It's there staring at me, go, okay, Steve, helmet on, and then you touch your bike, and then have what you've done with the bike shoes, etc. There's a couple of we could go into loads and transition tips, but actually you go down. There's a load of short videos of 30 seconds, powerful transition tips. Check them out in the comments below, and then the wetsuit removal. We don't have wetsuit strippers in 70.3 Boulder. Do you recall or?
No wetsuit strippers in 70.3s. I don't think any 70.3s in North America have wetsuit strippers.
Yeah, it's just it's a flash VIP thing that you guys do in North American Ironman. By the way, we don't even have them in North America in European full distance. It's all about getting yourself out of the wetsuit. So there's a video on how to get in and out of your wetsuit in the comments below. So we're up, we're in the swim. We've had a beautiful swim. It was chilly, but it was beautiful. We've transitioned. We've listened to Wendy's advice. We've got the bike over the mountain line, and we're now heading to. Oh, before we actually start that, we're going to talk about there's some. We're going to talk about the bike course in 1 second, but there's some kind of cool 3D maps you can see in the comments below. Shout out to the insurance guy; he's done that for me. And while we're giving a bit of praise, please subscribe to the channel because not only do this race review, we do other kind of training content, and I have a couple of other race reviews of with Wendy in terms of Kona. I'm trying to think about it. They've got 70.3
Turkey
Texas.
and
Um,
Turkey,
yep. So loads of other race reviews,
Oceanside.
Oceanside, loads of that, and loads of other training content as well. And by the way, you have to check out Wendy's Instagram account. She does some really cool kind of just real short, snappy, very professional, I must admit. I like them. Sort of content too, and she's a super coach as well. So if you want to DM her and actually see if you can get her onto her squad, that's a great way of contacting her. And yeah, that's enough of the cell and all the rest. We're now onto the bike course. It is 2 laps. And do you want to talk us through what people can expect road surface wise? Oh, there's our reservoir. And then we are transit.
So when you're leaving Boulder Reservoir, it's probably roughly 2 miles until you get out on Highway 119. And it's it's challenging. It's rolling hills. It's hilly, it's rolling hills. It's not a mountain. None of this is a mountain. Some people think Boulder, they think mountains. Nothing is a mountain. For me, I think my fastest 70.3 bike course. It's very fast. for every uphill, you get a screaming downhill. But the first 2 miles, I would probably advise you make sure your gear's in a small chain ring, at least to start with. Relax. You're gonna have trouble probably catching your breath because you just did this swim in this fast transition. You're gonna be a little breathless. And you just want to like really use those 2 miles to spin your legs uphill and catch your breath because then you're out on the highway. And when you go over Highway 36, so you're going to be on 119, then you're going to get on Highway 36. Highway 36 is the most challenging part. So you get the hills out of the way, the rolling hills out of the way in the beginning, the first 10, 15 miles. And then you're just rewarded with these super fast downhills. And so make sure you're comfortable going downhill. Make sure you know how to use your gears, that you're able to climb the rollers, nothing too long, and make sure you're comfortable with these screaming downhills. I think it's just such a fast course. Being a two-loop course, kind of cruise the first loop, moderate. Don't blow everything the first loop. Get a feel of where the hills are, where the downhills are, where you can accelerate. And so then you can kind of put more effort into that second loop. And I would train loops. So when you're in your build, the last 8 to 12 weeks of your training leading up to Boulder, I would suggest, and I do to the athletes I coach, that they get familiar in training with doing looped courses. So they're comfortable with doing a two loop 90K bike course.
Yeah, it's a great it's a great tip as well because there's you can almost get a little bit familiar and in your mind you go, okay, like if you're part to go, oh, I could have actually pushed a little bit more on that hill. It wasn't that bad. And you go, okay, it's coming back next time. So you learn and you adapt as you go along. Road surface, what can people expect?
The last time I did it, the roads were pretty newly surfaced. Again, I haven't been there since 2018, so I'm going to assume the roads, it's Boulder, are pretty well paved. It's a cycling community, triathlon community. They probably do a pretty good job with daily road maintenance. So, if you're going to get any choppiness at all, it may be those first 2 miles out of Boulder Res, but nothing. No potholes or anything like that. No debris, no rocks or anything along the course.
Lovely.
Gravel,
And
no
in
gravel
ter
along the course.
yeah, and in terms of road bike versus TT bike, a question we always get asked, what would your recommendation if you've got the option?
TT. Yeah, TT bike. I mean, people think it's a hilly bike course and it's labeled on the Ironman site as a hilly bike course. I would label it as a rolling hill bike course, not a hilly bike course. There's a difference. And because after the first 10, 15 miles, there's so much downhill and flat, it's a TT bike for sure.
Yeah. I really want to meet, and we've had this conversation before. I've got to meet the guy who does the scale on this. As in it makes it look A,
It
you're
looks
going
like a
fast.
mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it look like a mountain. It's
Yeah.
not.
And I do see now in terms of what you're saying about the downhills, like, and for me, it's not a technical downhill. It's just straight down. There's a hill similar in Ironman, Italy, where you work up a hill, but it's just literally it's like a launch pad and you're straight down and it
Huh?
just hold that speed and you just take all your momentum and it takes you onto a nice flat and you're almost you're running out of gears, but you're just keeping the pedals turning just to kind of keep your legs warm almost, and you get a good 20, like a good 15K worth of momentum out of this hill, which is awesome. Um,
Yeah. So like when you're getting out on 36, again, those first 10, 15 miles, for every downhill, use that momentum to get up the next hill. They're not that long. Some
yeah,
of them may be steeper than what you've done in the past, but they're not long. It's a fun course. It's really fun, I
yeah,
think.
no, definitely. And we'll have aid stations here at what you call it. That will be. Bum bum bum. Mine mile. I'd say that's 18, and I would say that's around 26. So we'll talk a little bit about aid stations. Anything else we got on the bike course we want to cover?
No, just be safe.
Cool. Now, in terms of the cutoff times for people worried about it, you swim, and remember that's only happens when you cross the mat. Your T1, when you're in and out, and your bike, it's 5 hours and 30. So, but aid stations, which are key. So we have to talk a little bit about that. Now, this is my little rant. Their aid stations are very particular to Ironman the way they run them, right? And this is where they have very strict rules. So you have the bottle toss here, which is the start of the litter zone or the trash, as you guys call it. But if you throw litter anywhere else outside of this zone, two things will happen. One, you'll be known as a dick in the triathlon community, which you won't want that, especially when there's but the Boulderians are very proudly triathlon. And two, you will get rightly disqualified if you get spotted by a marshal because we are guests in Boulder. It's an absolutely stunning. I've seen some of the pictures. It's an absolutely stunning area. So, if we may assist IRONMAN in this, that we only litter in this area, they can come along, they can scoop up everything as if we were never there the next day. If they can't, if we start chucking out bottles all out the course. So take only photographs, leave only footprints. And also, by the way, you can't take photographs because you can't bring a camera. But I like that. I like that image that we're guests, we're ambassadors, and as long as we respect it, we'll be invited back to play in their back garden next year. Otherwise, the typical aid station works. There's water bottles, the water, and they're in the bottles that will fit into your standard bottle cage. There's mortal hydration, which I believe, based on other races, it's margarita mix on the bike and it's berry on the run. We'll confirm that later on, but do check the athlete guide. Food in terms of bananas, Morton gels, and if you've never tried them before, make sure you do. They do have a very unusual consistency. It's like someone of my athletes said, it's like eating hair gel. I did ask him why I was eating hair gel beforehand, but it's a visual thing. And if you've missed your ISO, your immortal hydration, you've got a second chance there. You've got your water bottle, and then your last chance. Um, for me, um, this is the high risk area on this course, especially if there's fast downhills, etc. Because there's moving parts. It's the only place you can chuck litter. It's the only place that you'll have volunteers handing out bottles, people moving in to pick bottles. You have to be very situationally aware and communicative in this area. There's no point in going, oh, I'd love a bottle, and then suddenly the wrong side, and then suddenly pull in. You've got to line yourself up. Know you're going to go use an aid station. You're going to start, even when you're calling in, you call out to the guy because you have to slow down to grab that bottle. Get in the bottle, look, make eye contact with the volunteer. Water, water, please. Good manners never go out of fashion. And then that gives you the best chance of getting that bottle, securing it, and then I'm coming out, and off you go. Any other tips on the aid stations, Wendy, there that or do you use aid stations on your 70.3s or how do you work
I
it?
do. I do. So call me old school, but I have two water bottle cages on my down tubes. I don't have anything in front or anything in back because I rely on aid stations. So I usually start with one bottle and then I'll grab one at the first aid station and put it in my second cage. So now I have two bottles and I usually am pretty good about going through 20 to 30 ounces of hydration per hour. So I'm pretty good at timing so I can chuck a bottle and grab a bottle at the aid stations.
Yeah. And there's a brilliant point. I get this question, I ask this question a lot. Should I put everything I need on my 70.3 or should I be completely self-sufficient? And then I ask people, how much did you pay for your bike? And I went, oh, and they start swinging. Oh, I paid like 8,000 and it's only this many amount of grams and it's so light. And I said, and how do you think when you put like three full bottles on it and then one on your bottle cage and all the rest, what do you think you're doing there, lads? You're actually making your bike heavy. So I'm with you, Wendy, as in I will have enough in case I miss an aid station, but then I'll be reliant on the aid station because otherwise you're carrying extra weight and you're weighing down your bike. And listen, let's face it, we paid enough money with our entry fee, so I'm making my money back in Morton gels from these guys. No, it's a great tip, and again, as I said, so plan for aid stations, they're there, but know how to use them. And again, on that point, I have a little video down below that in the comments that demos gives you kind of was it do's, don'ts, and I've got a really cool video of one of the in a T100, one of the pros knocked four water bottles out of the water, like lost them as he went entirely. Very hot race, but it just shows if you're not doing it right, if you're not toned in, you can mess it up, and it's something you need to practice. And the video talks all about it. Okay, we'll move on um from our aid station. Now we're back to our single transition. So it's T2. And no bike catchers. What's your top tips for T2 for a quick and speedy
So
transition?
now you're back to that Boulder, getting back to Boulder Reservoir from Highway 119. So you got 2 miles worth of rollers. Usually the last mile, I'm in a small chain ring. I'm kind of, getting my breath back. and as soon as I turn into the entrance of Boulder Res, I'm kind of coasting because then it's a slight downhill and I'm trying to slip my feet out of my pedals. So then I put my feet on top of my shoes and I'm pedaling like that. So when I dismount, I'm dismounting on bare feet with socks on and dismount at the dismount line. And then you have to jog your bike up to exactly the same place that you got it, the same rack area. It's going to look different. It's going to look different because there's not all the bikes there. So again, that's why it's important to know your ins and outs and where your bike is racked so it always looks different. And then I rack my bike. I take my helmet off after you rack your bike. You want to keep that chin strap clipped until you rack your bike. Take my helmet off. My shoes should be in my pedals. And then if I haven't put socks on already, I'll put socks and shoes on, grab my race belt, my visor, and run out. And I'll be putting my race belt with my bib number on it. And be putting my visor on as I'm exiting transition.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, you're of the same school of thought as me. Get in and get out. As in, we have my squad, we have a phrase NGHIT2, rolls off the tongue, but translated in nothing good happens in T2. You sort of you get the bike in, you get a bike racked, you get your runners on, and everything else you can do on the move, and you're saving seconds. So as you said, the race belt can be when you're jogging out, you can put that on. You can take a gel as you're running. There's no point to sit down and stretch and start thinking about what's happening next. Get in, get out, be nice and smooth. Um, and yep, that's it. That's what we would say too. A couple more short videos in the comments below about how to get in and out. And we're on the run course. We're going around that reservoir again, 2 laps. What can people expect, Coach?
No shade. So the run is typically no shade. It's typically going to be really warm. And you're at altitude, so hopefully you've hydrated enough. Hydrate. You want to make sure you hydrate more than you normally would on the bike because it's dry heat and you're at altitude. Your chances are higher that you're going to get dehydrated if you don't stay on top of it. But there's no shade, and it's on compact dirt. Most of it is on a compact dirt road, so soft surface, and it's not major hills, but it is a rolling hill, some flat area type of course. I like the two loop area because then you come around, you kind of get a feel of what the first loop is, so you know exactly where the hills are, where the flats are, where you can maybe pick up some speed, and you get to see your friends and family before you head out on the second loop.
And there seems to be a bit of a dog leg in here as well. We head up and then back again, and then just a
Yeah, so
simple.
that little dog leg is new. I've never done that portion. Like I said, this course has changed slightly over the years that since I've done it. Um, so yeah, just so probably a little out and back,
Yeah, and
flat.
it seems to have an aid station there as well. Cool. And is there anything
And
else?
it's just hot. It's hot and open with no shade. I mean, that's what it's known for. But you will get some breeze, when you're near the water again. So again, you're running around Boulder Reservoir. So when there is going to be for every tailwind that you're scorching hot, when you round a corner and you turn to go back, you're going to get some nice breeze coming off the reservoir.
Lovely, yeah. And again, I think the fact it's going to be hot and humid, as I said, it makes more important for the aid stations as well. And for me, I always tell my athletes if it is hot, you never miss an aid station, and it's not just a case of people make the mistakes. I just need to take on liquid that will cool me down. No, because you can overdo it and you have this sloshing feeling of like whatever Coke or I was it Mortal Hydration berry flavor. I say, look, get a bit of water, squeeze it down the back of your neck, as in splash it on your face, or just swirl it in your mouth. And if they have those sponges again, I don't know if they did, but in South Africa when they had in the World
Yeah.
Champs, it was beautiful. You could get the sponge and you put them under your tri suit, and then later on you just press them down and releases kind of a little bit of a cooling water down. I love that.
Mhm.
Um, and okay, cool. Yeah. So, any other tips as well for this run course to survive the heat?
No, I mean it's basically just stay hydrated, never pass up an aid station, even if you just take water, pour it over your head. Always grab some water, and hopefully you're hydrated coming off the bike that you'll be able to survive that run course.
Yeah.
Again, there's been years where it's always scorching hot, but I always tell athletes to expect heat, wind, and hills. even on a flat course. If you go into any race expecting heat, wind, and hills, and it's cooler, not windy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there's no hills, you're
it's
better off that
just
way.
hills and heat. You go, cool, there's no wind.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, also you're right again on the second lap of that bike, you have to remember you're not only fueling on the bike and hydrating on the bike, you're hydrating for this hotter run and you're fueling for this. And when it's a hotter run, it absorbs more energy out of it. So I think build that into your nutrition strategy. Okay, doke. So to get it all done,
And build it into your training plan. I mean, don't pass up running in the heat in your training. Don't pass up riding in the wind in your training. You can prepare for headwinds and tailwinds, heat and cold. That's why you train. So don't
absolutely.
pass up opportunities to be able to train in the hottest part of the day.
Absolutely. And also back to your other point about doing a looped bike course. I would get my guys to have their long run it's wherever if it starts off at 12 and goes to 14, I would go like so the 12 is two 6K loops. I'm gonna get used to the it sometimes if you're just running and it's everything's changing and it's all wonderful, but if you get used to okay, I'm gonna see that tree exactly again and that will be halfway in it. So again, back to your really top point there, do it on a loop course as well. Okay,
Yep.
swim T1, bike T2, and run 8 hours 30 to get it done. And oh, just again, just a quick one on the aid station you did mention. It's the same rules apply, only in between these two lines. Rubbish, European for trash. Um, you've got water, coal, and electrolyte, which will be mortal. Bananas, etc., pretzels, that sort of stuff, and toilets that you can take advantage of. And when you get there, you get to see this fabulous finish line. It does look very, it looks very picturesque in the background, the mountains in the background. Awesome. Um, we will have a quick chat on just the race day logistics, but also just some things. Myself and Wendy have both mentioned about nutrition. There's a video below that gives you a kind of whirlwind tour of what to do, how to plan it, etc. How many calories, how you eat it, when you eat it, etc. If you're lucky enough to travel to the beautiful area of Boulder, Colorado, you'll need to know how to pack your bike, how to pack your bags. The checklist down here. And this is where Coach Wendy earns her money 2 weeks out from the race, as in we have all our athletes calling her saying, "Oh no, I'm suddenly become unfit. How come I haven't run 20K this week? Or why am I only cycling 40K?" Taper madness. It happens. Mainly the answer to solve is to actually talk to your coach and just listen to your coach. But watch that. And then also last minute tips to kind of nail your A race. Watch this video again. Tell your friends about it. Okay, that was a shameless plug, but read the athlete brief, recheck your logistics, make sure your bike gets a service. Simple things you can do to make sure you minimize your stress on race day and set yourself up for success rather than, oh yeah, no, I didn't get my bike serviced, and then like you find out that the ball bearings are gone when you arrive in Boulder. Don't be that person. Okay, cool. There's some other additional resources for you. Race day timetable. It's a Saturday race, so you can check in on the Thursday, Friday. What's your top tips for athletes traveling to a race or just the first 70.3? What would you be advising them to do, coach?
Yeah, I mean, for a Saturday race, I wouldn't get there any later than Wednesday. If you're traveling all the way to Boulder, Colorado, get there earlier or stay later so you can kind of enjoy the Colorado community. There's so many mountain towns that you can travel to and visit. It's like kind of going to Kona, arrive early, stay late type of area, type of venue. But definitely don't get there later than Wednesday because check-in is Thursday, bike check-in is Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you're right as well. I find people funny that people skimp on their arrival times. You train for something for 6, 9 months, a year plus maybe, and you go, there's an element of you want to see the location you're in rather than just staring at the road when you're racing it. But an Ironman does bring an electricity to a place, as in like there's a lot of energy to it. And on that, I always tell people two things will get drained in the athlete expo. Do attend the expo, absolutely. Do the brief, but just be aware that you don't spend too long because if you stay, your nervous energy will get drained because you're going like, oh, they all look much more athletic than me, and your credit card will get drained. Usually paying like happily paying $30, $40 for a mug. Um, but no, I agree with you. And then also if things go wrong in travel, if you lose, if your luggage gets lost and all the rest, if you've got there Wednesday, you can fix it much quicker. Um, the again, other key things as well. The bike check-in is at 9 between 9:30 and 4:30, and that's the time where you pick up your timing chip. A lot of people panic when they check in and they check in and they get the bag and they get their what you call it the whatever else is with it, race numbers, etc. And they go home in the hotel and they go, "There's no race chip." You only get that when you check in the bike, and that's when Wendy said, "Walk, know your ins and outs." Um, Right, and now our race morning, coach. We have transition opens at 4:30. What's your top tips for getting yourself set up on race day morning, or any kind of insight?
Well, okay, so I actually forgot about this that they don't this is new recent over the years where they don't allow you to drive into and park in Boulder Reservoir. So I
Oh,
believe you go to the high school now and you park in downtown Boulder and they'll shuttle you and your stuff to the start of the race. That is new. I've had to do that at the Boulder Ironman, but I've never had to do it at the 70.3. Wake up early, you're not going to sleep anyways. Just get out of bed. Have your breakfast routine planned out based on training. Know what time before your race wave starts of when you want to eat and how you want to eat and what you want to eat and how you want to fuel. Um, you shouldn't be guessing the day before, oh my God, what time am I going to go to bed? What time am I going to wake up? It's a given. Wake up early, get there early. Again, in case anything goes wrong, you may go into transition, you may have a bike mechanical like a flat tire, you'll have plenty of time to change it, plenty of time to stand in line for the porta johns a few times, and just to be relaxed and not stressed about race morning. The earlier you get there, I think the less anxiety you're going to have, and you'll be able to see the sunrise.
yeah, and also as I said, that electricity as well. There's something special about an Ironman transition in the race morning. There's an energy. There's also a terrible smell from the porta johns, but again, we'll brush over them. But there's a and there's everyone's very positive and like I know, but and yet nervous. It's an amazing experience. Question yourself, Wendy, are you a talker or are you the silent type in transition? My friends give out to me because I am so chatty and it's a nervous thing, and I'm going to introducing myself to random people in transition. And when my other friend is just taciturn, he goes, "I'm going to sit over here. I don't want anyone to talk to me." And I'm here introducing to myself to Claudia from Sweden and like Tom from Idaho and all the rest. But are you a talker or are you?
I think the races I go to where I have experience, I'm a talker. Like especially if I went back to Boulder and race because I'm going to know so many people and I've experienced this race so many times, I have no anxiety or stress. I'm probably going to be a talker. Normally, I'm an introvert. I'm not a talker. But when it comes to racing, I'm kind of in my element. I'm very comfortable around other people. So just, I'm definitely a listener and then I'll chime in where I can. But I don't go and sit quietly. Like I kind of just hang out by my bike and help people if needed. Just because I'm a coach athlete, if anyone's struggling, if a newbie's struggling with something, I want to be able to help them out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. I'm probably in the middle, neutral.
Yeah. That's because my friend was giving out to me recently. He goes like, "We're doing Texas," and he goes, "Right, these are the rules if we go to Texas." And we go, I want you in a different rack to me because I can hear you all across the room, and if I hear you talking, it upsets me. So I was just thinking about that the other day. Okay, we were 7:05 race start. You're into that beautiful reservoir. You're going to have a cracking race day because you have been prepared to within an inch of your life by Coach Wendy, which is thank you ever so much. Look, and as I said, and I have to hammer this home. She is an amazingly knowledgeable and by the way, humble person for all her achievements in her. So we didn't go into it too much at the start. Like she's won so much, won Kona, etc. Like, and my hat goes off to her. So if you are looking for an absolute a belter of a coach experience, definitely drop her an email. She will get you I PB as I said. Now I'm this is me endorsing her without, but I just know her. We talk a fair bit. I know her approach, her methodology, and it's very similar to myself. But I know she is even next level, as in she's attentive. She gives, she cares about people as athletes. So definitely drop her a line if you're doing 703 Boulder or any other race and you want to actually just get to the next level. She won't let you down.
Thank
Now we
you.
we will. And again, again, and before we cut off again, Wendy, again, love chatting to you. Really good. You've sold Boulder to me. I know I am going to have to start doing some of these races now that I know them all. I think Boulder could be the one. But thank you very much from myself and for everyone else who's listened today and all the rest for all your info, your smiliness, and your positivity. And it's been fantastic. Any
Thank
last
you.
minute words for our viewers?
No, I mean, I like I always say, enjoy the process, make it a great day.
Fantastic. Listen, we will leave it there. Thanks again. It's been awesome.
Thank you.